Verse 31. But you, stand here by me and let me speak to you. This is to Moses now. All the commands and the laws and the right rulings which you are to teach them, and they shall do them in the land which I am giving them to possess. This is the vertical structure again. Moses was to teach the people Yahweh's instructions. Yahweh gave them to Moses, Moses gave them to the people. Because a lot of people still have a problem with me standing up here instead of like having some group discussion. And by the way, we're going to be fixing that all throughout MTOI as a whole. We're not having any more unsupervised, unguided studies, as far as at any MTOI location. Because I know a lot of people think, well, we get together to fellowship and we're really watching all that stuff just on a screen even though we're together. So we want to sit together and we want to talk about the scriptures. No. You're not qualified to do that. Don't get mad at me. I know there's people all over the internet would scream about this. The vertical is where these things come from. Someone has to be trained. If you're not trained, you know what you end up with is confusion. You tell me you can't sit down in a group of, any group you sit in, you tell me of at least 4 or 5 people, and you actually start discussing a verse that you're not going to have at least 2 or 3 opinions that don't match, and each one's going to try to make their case as to why they're right. And then people who are listening, who aren't doing the discussion, that are like being more quiet, just listening, they're going to be influenced by somebody. And if it's a group that's MTOI, you're going to assume that if there's a leader there leading it, that they agree with me, and that whatever they say is whatever, is what I say. No. Okay? You want to go have those kind of discussions? Look, I'm not telling you you can't sit with other people and talk about Scripture. I'm talking about in some official capacity with a level of influence is very different than just a bunch of people sitting around deciding, hey, let's go have a study together. But just realize, anytime you get a group of people having a study together, the more people there are, the more it still turns into a teaching. Each person who has an idea wants the other people to agree with it and believe it and whatever. I'm just being real with you, okay? And so that being said, just realize if you want to do that, if you think that, well, we should all have a say and everybody should bring something. We got a group right down the road is exactly what they do. Go there. Okay, leader stands up in front of the room, lets everybody say whatever they want for 3 or 4 or 5 hours, and then they go home. And he never says anything to correct them or anything. If that works for you, then go. Okay? But that's just your pride and your ego. You know what you should be coming together for? Instruction from an anointed Ephesians 4 person. Fellowship with each other, fellow covenanted brothers and sisters, so you can love on each other, all right? And the ability to share praises and prayers so that you can share the victories and pray for each other in the struggles. Okay? That's what you're there for. Now, if your teaching is me on a screen, that meets the one part. That means the rest of what you should be doing is the fellowshipping, loving on each other, praying and praising together. 2 great commands, I help you with the one that's vertical by giving you instruction from above and opportunities to do certain things vertical. But the second one is loving each other. Well, you can't really do that through the screen. You do that by gathering together, and maybe you're still watching on a screen, but as a group. Until I get to anoint and appoint somebody to send to you, to wherever you are. Does that make sense for everyone? Okay? Because this is the vertical being expressed here. It says, you, Moses, right? The rest of you guys say to them, return to your tents. You guys all go to your tents. I'll teach Moses. Moses will teach you. That's his structure. There's a teaching I need to redo. At least that's what Elder Shamish Gary told me I need to redo is learn and teach the Torah. Okay? It's an old teaching. I think it's only in audio. Okay? Learn and teach the Torah. And that whole thing is not about you learning and teaching it as much as what the Scripture says about learning and teaching, so you know that it's not to be taught by just anybody. And it's meant to be taught. It's not meant to just be picked up, learned by just osmosis, where you just read the book and it's all obvious. If that were the case, why do all of you have questions every time we do a zone? Every time we do a zone meeting, you guys have questions, every time. There's no end. because it's not meant to be understood fully. It's meant to be understood basically, but not fully without guidance. Okay? And don't tell me, any of you, some of you are so new that this is different. Don't tell me if you're not so new, that who've been to other teachers throughout the years and other ministries and other stuff, don't tell me that by the time you came to me, you weren't confused about at least a half a dozen or more issues. Feast, Sabbath, tithing, something, kashrut. You were confused because their positions didn't all match. And some of you still go out and listen to other people other than me, and you're welcome to do that. But if you do, it may get confusing. Then you might find yourself coming back to me confused, asking me to help straighten it out. You can listen to all the teachings you want. You need to have one teacher. That's the one who straightens out when you get confused. That's the one you trust as an Ephesians 4 person, okay, a fivefold person, who you trust is Yahweh speaking through. Yahweh's giving the information to that person to give to you. I know that's kind of bizarre.